3 Papa India Alpha, asking if the frequency is in use. Very good. CQ80 meters. Golf 3 Papa India Alpha, G3 PIA, calling CQ members of the Harwell Amateur Radio Society. Golf 3 Papa India America, calling CQ members of the Harwell Amateur Radio Society, and listening for them. Anybody to call in now, please.
Okay, Dave, on frequency G0AOZ.
G0AOZ, a slightly better signal than on 40. Roger, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox.
Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox. Not quite as strong as on 40 meters, state shy. We have anybody else on frequency? G3 PIA listening.
UHF.
Jolly good, I can copy you, Mike 0 UHF. Good afternoon. So, there we are. We're all back together. See if we get any other callers as we proceed during the afternoon. Right, everybody's copyable, but still conditions don't seem very good, even on 80 meters. Oh, hang on a minute. It's probably because I was listening on the loop, and that may not be the best thing to do on this band, so we'll find out in a minute. Round to you, Roger. We'll get your reports first of all. G0AOZ from G3 PIA.
Okay, Dave, thank you. G3PIA, G0AOZ, returning to the group. Okay, that's good. 5 and 9 plus 10 for you, Dave, so it's slightly stronger than on 40 meters. Clint, you were 5 and 9 plus 10, so you were slightly, considerably stronger than 40 meters. And I didn't note the signal strength for you, Jeff, but I will give you a proper report after you're over. But all copied, no problems at all. Right, okay, let's go back to you, Dave. G3PIA, G0AOZ in the group.
Yeah, G0AOZ in the group from G3PIA. Nice little click there as somebody switched the mic either on or off. Very noticeable, nice modulation on that. Thanks very much for plus 10, Roger. You're 5.9 plus 5. And no QSB noted, but much better now I've switched to the doublet rather than the loop, although when I get things sorted out and the right preamps on the loop and so on, they're more or less the same on this band. Okay, round to Clint. I hope the signal's improved a little bit. Probably will now. I've switched to the right aerial. Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox from Golf 3 Papa India Alpha.
Golf 3 Papa India Alpha, Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox returning. Thanks, Dave. Well, Roger's copying me at a normal signal strength, and I checked the SWR for 40 and 80, so hopefully you're hearing me better now. You're on the right aerial. You're 5.9 plus with me. Roger is plus 10. Jeff, I looked at the meter when he called in. He was about 5 and 7, so copying him no problem at all, but he might be a bit stronger than that because it was only very brief. I've updated the X feed to say that we're live on 3.710 megahertz. I'll QSP any third-party reports you might get. And by the way, as I think I gave you the news last week that the FTDX 5000 had sold, so I'm back on the trusty Kenwood TS990 and enjoying it very much. So hopefully you can hear me normally now, Dave. Back to you. Golf 3 Papa India Alpha from Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox.
Yeah, Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox from Golf 3 Papa India Alpha. Yep, 5 and 9 Clint, no problems at all. And much worse on the loop, interestingly, which doesn't normally happen. But there we are, that's what the situation is. And thanks very much to the 5.9 plus. Right, round to, yes, I understand you sold the radio and you're back on the 890, which I'm sure is a pleasure to operate. Round to you, Jeff, Mike 0 Uniform Hotel Fox from Golf 3 Papa India Alpha.
Okay, M0 UHF returning, what is that doing now? Anyway, it's the 990 that can start 990. And everybody is basically 5 and 9. You're plus 5, Clint's sort of 7, 8, and Roger's about the 9. So we're all more or less in the same place, give or take. That's about it really, isn't it? It's 33.5 degrees in my loft, where I am now. it's a bit hot and it's really dying of thirst. So I need to go and get a drink. I'm going to go and get one now because the case I'll break off. But they 7-3. Band's in shocking condition on both bands really. But still not very much noise anyway, apart from that. So I think that's about it. So 7-3, Mike 0 UHF.
Okay, Jeff, Mike 0 UHF from G3PIA. Now, I'm always fascinated how you can actually get a virtually zero noise floor. It must be theoretically impossible. But there we are. You do achieve it somehow or other, presumably adjustments of control. So 33.5, well, that's getting pretty warm then in the loft. I can definitely understand that you would like to get some sort of refreshment and cool down. Well, thanks so much for at least joining in and this afternoon, despite the temperature in the loft space there, and look forward to working you probably on Roger's net in the evening when it'll be not quite as warm, hopefully, in your shack. Okay, so what's not a lot been happening here other than I've at last repaired the Yaesu 1000 FDX or whatever it was rotator that I've had a broken brake spring in. So I did a total strip down, all the gears out, washed everything, stripped the horrible black grease that was on there and put some synthetic grease in, which is a much higher melting temperature and so on, because presumably having a brown body with the rotator probably gets quite hot inside, let alone the energy that's dissipated when it's working. Pretty sure I found out why the brake spring had broken. If you can imagine, it's a coil spring about 20 mil in diameter sitting inside a 20 mil diameter nylon or plastic housing, and if the spring is pushed in one direction it will expand, and that's how it forms the brake. If it pushes in the opposite direction it contracts slightly and doesn't produce any resistance. So hopefully that's all up and running now. Realigned, had to start from scratch because I'd lost all the reference points, but they would have been no good anyway. It seems I'd stripped all the gears out. So quite pleasing. I can probably put that back into operation. I was going to say, I think I maybe know the reason why it's snapped the spring, at least a little spigot that sticks out from it. On brake, I'd modified the rotator to increase the speed quite considerably increase on the normal rotation speed. And of course, when it comes to stopping, the momentum of all the aerials will put quite a load on that brake. And the brake dips at the end of the gear chain just before it goes into the motor. So I suspect I perhaps need to throttle things back or try and arrange the soft stop that's available when you use the automatic feed on the rotator. It comes into a few degrees before the parking point or the set point. It does come in at a much slower speed. And if I could activate that so that on the manual control it also did that, that would prevent the breaking the brake system again. So that's something to think about. I think you've heard that we did the 2-meter contest yesterday evening, and I think that's all the radio I've been doing at the moment. I'm sure there's other things going to sort out now. We've been sorting out the workshop still, components into drawers and marked rather than jumbled into one drawer and all unsorted. So slowly the workshop is coming to the point now where I'll probably never find a thing again, but at least it's all labelled up. Anyway, and cleared out this bench space for things to now be produced, or at least space to work on things. Okay, that's enough water for me. Back round to you, Roger. G0AOZ from G3PIA.
Okay, Dave, that's fine. Thank you very much. G3PIA, G0AOZ returning. Yes, okay, that's fine. All okay on the rotator. And it sounds like you need some sort of double T-clutch mechanism to change down a few cogs when you want to slow it down. Hi. But there we are. They say, according to reports in the paper, they're selling less and less manual gearbox cars these days. majority of them are now automatics, and I suppose people learning to drive don't want to bother with a manual gearbox. They're quite happy to cope with an automatic in today's heavy traffic, so the manuals are falling out of favour. But you and I were both brought up on manual gearboxes, Dave, and it wasn't until much later in my motoring career that I actually came across an automatic. But I'm more than happy to sit back and let the gearbox sort itself out nowadays. Hi. Right, well, I've not done much radio other than to fiddle around with the packet stuff, and to that end I'm looking for another radio, an FM only for 2 meters. What I particularly want is an FT 7900 or an FT 8900. So if anybody knows of one of those, I'll be happy to take it off their hands. But anyway, packet stuff seems to be working okay at the moment. G3PIA, G0AOZ in the group.
Yeah, G0AOZ in the group from G3PIA. To that end, Roger, I should say that the mast with your packet aerial on is at the lower height at the moment. I lowered it down the other day when there's a chance of thunderstorms, and I always twitch a little bit about that shed because it's got so much various fuels and paints and things in that I would hate anything to happen to it, because it'll be a real sort of glow in the sky if ever it caught on fire. But there we are. But I thought I'd just let you know. I will actually probably wind it back up again this afternoon because it looks like conditions are going to be favourable, and I might be looking on the HF band later on. We have, of course, thinking about it this evening. We've got a committee meeting, haven't we? So that's snookered that one until later on. Right, anyway, I'm glad the packet station system is all going okay, and yet I think people are going for these new gearboxes. They're so incredibly reliable and efficient, of course. A lot of them with the twin clutches in, and you selected the next gear up before you actually change into it. It's very clever technology. It's been thoroughly proved and very, very reliable. So why bother with gears? A lot of them you can almost go into, you can go into a sports mode and go with paddles on the steering wheel, which is almost the same thing. In fact, the changes are quicker because there's no clutch involved. But I don't know. I can go. I've driven autos and quite like them, but still got a manual, mainly for towing. I didn't, when I bought the Honda, I wasn't sure about how effective the auto box would be for towing, so hence I've still got it a manual change. Okay, enough waffle here. Let's go round to Flint and see what your take is on auto boxes. Mike 0, Oscar X-Ray Fox from Golf 3 Papa India Alpha, the club station of the Harwell Amateur Radio Society.
Golf 3 Papa India Alpha, Mike 0, Oscar X-Ray Fox returning. Thanks, Dave. Well, I've been driving basically an auto, solely an auto, for a year or two now since I sold my Lotus. I had the Land Rover as well, but I actually miss the grunt of a manual gearbox, although it wouldn't be so appropriate, I suppose, for my Discovery. About 10 or 11 years ago, I had a Range Rover Evoque, which was a manual, which was comfortable, but when you drive my sort of car, as long as it's got an option for four-wheel drive, slow hill descent, and an automatic box makes sort of sense, really. So, I keep thinking about buying another Lotus or something, which would obviously have a manual gearbox, which I might do at some point. It's on my bucket list. I think I've owned 5 Lotuses now, so I'm sure I'll own another one before I give up sports cars forever. Hi. I'm still young enough to get away with it, I think. Yeah, my goodness me, I'm not surprised Jeff wanted a drink if his loft space is 33 degrees C. That sounds like an absolute nightmare to me. Yeah, just commenting on his noise floor. Jeff always does seem to report a lower noise floor on HF than anyone else, which is interesting. I'm not sure how he does it. The lowest noise floor I've ever observed was when I was testing the Win Radio Excelsior SDR receiver. This was that kind of military grade, commercial grade SDR that was sent to me by Radio User magazine, and I tested it on HF on 2 meters and 70 on receive, and I can't remember whether it was 2 or 70, maybe both. The noise floor with that rig without an antenna was about minus 155 dBm, which is very low. I'm lucky here in that I have generally got a low noise floor on HF because I'm on the edge of a village, but it's generally around about minus 125 dBm. I mean, 155 with that Excelsior, that's only sort of 20 dBm above the sort of Johnson-Nyquist thermal noise, you know, the theoretical noise floor, which is about minus 174 dBm per hertz, and that's basically the noise that's attributed to the sort of motion of the electrons of charge carriers at room temperature. So although I think it was £8,500 that Win Radio receiver, you've got to be really serious about DXing to spend that sort of money, but I think that's the lowest noise floor that I've ever observed on a radio. I mean, noise floor is something in my line of work that we chase constantly on the receive chain of the MRI scanner that we've developed, because obviously the lower the noise floor, the better the signal to noise, and the better the signal to noise, the sharper and the higher resolution and the better contrast you obtain with MRI scans, you know, with the images. So that's noise floor and signal to noise is something that dominates me both at home to a lesser extent and at work to a much greater extent. So but good on Jeff if he can get if his noise floor is always around about S1, S2, irrespective of whatever band he's using on HF, then more power to him. Right. Just have a quick look at my laptop on the X feed. I'm not expecting anything, and I'm correct. We don't have any reports, but that's the way it goes. Right. I think I've rambled on long enough. Copy you, Dave, the committee and Roger. Committee meeting tonight at 8 p.m. I'll be there. Back to you. Golf 3 Papa India Alpha from Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox.
Mike 0 Oscar X-Ray Fox from Golf 3 Papa India Alpha. Yeah, it's okay, fine, all very interesting, and yes, it's obvious, with your amplifiers and receive system and the MRI scanners that you want a very, very low noise figure, and I don't know if you have to resort to actually cryogenics on the receive side, or whether you can just get devices now that give you that sort of optimum of sort of minus 150s or whatever. But I'm talking really, I was referring to Jeff's comments on HF. Yes, I mean on VHF I get a very low noise figure in UHF, but on HF just can't get a low noise figure unless I turn gains down because of the amount of noise that's just generally generated from apart from sky noise and general thermal noise, but the surrounding noise that comes from the wirings of the houses and various other rubbish that's running and producing interference. I do get quite a lot of interference now from the solar panels certainly on 50 megs and 70 megs. So 6 and 4 meters I get quite a lot of noise from those solar panels when I beam towards them. But it still doesn't stop me working because they're in the westerly direction. I can still work Ireland okay. Fortunately, the signals are coming up slightly above the noise that produces. But it's very nice when I beam north and the noise floor just drops off rather nicely on those higher bands. Right, okay, so yes, interesting that you're still in the mood for a sports car. And I must admit, I was talking to Anne the other day, sort of saying, I really do miss the Caterham. It was great fun, but it's probably time it went, and I didn't get any tickets, which is good also. But I missed the track days as well, and they were really great. There we are. With all the rest of the kit actually sitting under the desk here, all the overalls, helmets, and all the other bits and pieces that are needed for sort of slightly competitive stuff, shall we say. But there we are. I don't think I should be getting another one. If I'm going to spend any more money, it will be on things from the house. I've just put a stair lift in, by the way, for Anne. That was got rid of a couple of £1,000 plus. But I felt that it was time that we had this in and make it safe. I think I've probably already mentioned that, so apologies for saying the same thing again. Okay, let's go through, where are we? That was Jeff. Go around to Jeff on QRT, and no doubt to 20 surf for those high temperatures. So we'll go back through and make this the last run through on this fairly restricted numbers of people on there this afternoon. You watch, that's just triggered a whole stampede of people that are going to join in. G0AOZ to take for a final from G3PIA.
Yes, okay, Dave, nothing heard in the break there. G3PIA, G0AOZ returning. Okay, well, that's interesting, Clint. You're saying about, thinking about getting another sports car, and why not indeed? We've got to take advantage of it now before you get too old. Mine is not really a sports car, it's more a GT cruiser, but it can still go like a sports car with the V8 under the bonnet, but there we are. Not quite the same as a sports car, but nevertheless I still get great pleasure from it, and hopefully will do for a couple of years more yet. But so Dave, I shouldn't give up on the idea. If you see something, then go for it. Right, solar panels. I was going to ask you how far away they were from the house, Dave. So presumably maximum noise is when you're pointing at them or nearly at them. But I wonder how far away they are. That would be interesting to know. And I was going to make some other comment then, can't think what it was now. But anyway, you said you've still got the gear for doing track days and so forth. It's I've never really got to that point of wanting to do a track day, but who knows in the future, if there is a future there, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Anyway, not much else to report from this end, I don't think. I'm off to have my afternoon nap now. Hi. So, hark at the old man here, but there we are. Anyway, stair lift, that's what I was going to ask you about, Dave. Is that one of these ones that goes up at a slope to match that of the staircase itself, the original staircase, or is it a vertical lift? I see they've been advertising the vertical lift recently on television. I can't remember the make of it, but I wonder if it's one of those or a conventional stair lift, shall we say. Dave, thank you very much indeed for running the net this afternoon. Good to hear you on, and I'll bid you 73 to Anne, 73 to you, Clint. All the best, and look forward to catching up again on Friday, hopefully. G3PIA, G0AOZ in the group.
Yeah, G0AOZ in the group from G3PIA. Okay, fine, Roger. Right, solar panels about 200 metres to the west, and they're quite long. They cover probably the length of the road. So it's a substantial number of solar panels that have been put onto a single-storey car park. So they've become a roof, if you like, over the car park, which I guess is a good idea of utilising that space and now generating some power. I wish they'd do it at a slightly less noise. But it could have been worse. I was dreading it really when they started to power it up when it originally appeared. But there we are, not too bad. The stair lift it's a conventional stair lift, just goes up at the same slope as the stairs, and the chair sits sideways on, obviously. It gets to the top and it automatically rotates. The only bit it doesn't is eject the person out onto the landing. But probably just as well. But there we are. Okay, oh dear, like you, there was something else I was going to comment on, but it's gone. Don't worry. Anyway, thanks very much for joining in this afternoon. Regards to Carol, of course, and enjoy your nap, and we'll look forward to seeing you on a Friday evening, all being well. So I wish you 7-3, Roger, and put it round to you, Clint, for a final M0OXF from G3.